Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 56 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. It was a fun episode, so let's get into it. We start outside of Uthadern, riding their goats heading toward the Savalirwood. It's about 200 miles to travel there. It'll be about 3 days on horseback. The first day goes by without issue. They camp up, and Frida looks for the Ruidus moon. They don't see it, and that means they assume it's somewhere else in the world. They can still see the ley lines, however. The next day, it's a lot harder of a day of travel. They don't enter any combat, and they don't lose travel. It's just a bit more difficult than the day before. The third day, Christian rolls a 2 on the daily roll, and the light snow that they had before turns into a blizzard, and the party have to buckle down and lose a day of travel. They also have to make con saves. Imogen rolls a 1, Frida rolls a 20. Frida then gives their coat to Imogen. Fern rolls a 21. FCG rolls a 21. FCG gives their coat to Frida. Diana rolls a 14 and Chetney rolls an 11. Chetney and Imogen both take a point of exhaustion. Both take 2 points of exhaustion, my correction. And the goats are all fine. Now is the fourth day of travel. And Laura chooses to roll the daily roll, and she rolls another natural 1. Which, it's 2 bad rolls in a row. Those are some dice jail dice right there. They make their way into a valley as they travel. As they're traveling, there is a whistling sound and then a loud crunch. And FCG is thrown off their goat as they've been hit by something. The rest of the party look around and see on either side of the valley 2 large humanoid creatures. One picks up another massive rock. Imogen casts telekinesis on it and stops it midair. Frida goes to check on FCG. The large humanoid pulls out an axe and starts running toward the party. Imogen throws the rock back at the giant running toward them. It hits the giant and he slips and begins to slide down the valley toward the party. Deanna hits the sliding giant with Guiding Bolt. The giant begins to slide themselves down. The goats begin to slide themselves down the valley to try to escape. The other giant throws another rock toward the party. Imogen catches it and throws out the sliding giant yet again with a natural 20. That dice needs to stay out and not go into dice jail. It takes a ton of damage from this rock. The giant that is still standing begins to give chase as well. Imogen grabs that standing giant with telekinesis and throws it off the side of the mountain. The goats are now sliding at the same speed as the sliding giant, so the giant is now no longer gaining speed on them, but it's not losing them either. FCG tries to cast Calm Emotions on it, but it doesn't work. He gets up and starts to chase on his feet, and he is met with 2 scorching rays from Fern. This giant looks pretty messed up. Frida shoots at the giant's knee, hitting twice, and then reloads and hits for a 3rd time because of action surge. At this point, the giants give up their pursuit, and the goats continue to slide down the valley, and eventually they come to rest at the bottom of the mountain. The party can now see the purple and gray trees of the Savalirwood. There's a lake and river that runs in the direction of the ruins of Molaesmyr. FCG suggests a boat-goat idea, or a goat-boat idea. Half the party don't know about this. Fern casts Speak with Animals to see if the goats are okay with this. The goats are okay with it as long as they don't get wet, because they're stupid. Chetney looks for ice in the river. There is indeed ice. Chetney thinks it's way too cold for the goats to be a boat. They will die when they get wet. Frida suggests Chetney find some wood and make a boat out of it, or a raft. Chetney likes this idea and rolls a 18 survival check at disadvantage. With this, he finds a few trees that look like they could be made into a raft with a bit of time. Frida and FCG help cut down the trees. Fern helps move the tree, helps move them. Deanna then helms the creation of the tree, or of the raft, and rolls a 22 survival check. A few hours later, they make a 10 by 10 raft. The party think everyone plus the goats should fit on it. Matt is not too sure about this idea. Frida pulls Deanna aside and tells her to put Death Ward on FCG. Deanna asks if it's because FCG is a healer or if it's for Frida. Frida says it's for them. Deanna goes over to FCG and asks what FCG's intentions are with Frida. She lets FCG know that if they're just here to come in and break Frida's heart, she'll break their neck. FCG finds the idea of them being a heartbreaker funny and says they want to make sure that Frida is happy and healthy. Deanna tells FCG Frida wants to put Death Ward on them. FCG accepts and Deanna slaps it on them. FCG asks if Deanna is looking for romantic revenge on Chetney. Deanna says no. Deanna thinks there's something going on between Fern and Chetney. FCG says that they don't think they're in love. They've had a couple of little instances here and there, but there's nothing too serious going on between them. But the way that Chetney looks at Deanna is like how Chetney looks at Birch. Deanna thanks FCG for the intel and wants to be the Birch, and says she won't break his heart. The party's looking for a safe place to rest for the night. They find a half cove to rest in. Chetney smells around to see if there's any predators. They don't seem to smell anything dangerous around them. Before they rest, FCG casts Commune to see if they can talk to the Changebringer. FCG touches the coin of the Changebringer and asks if she can hear them. Time passes and they look about. The river begins to move ever so faintly. FCG asks if the Changebringer is real. The wind picks up in the direction of the river. Tendrils of hair begin whipping past FCG. They turn and see a figure miles away, and their hair is reaching out past to FCG. FCG takes this as a yes. FCG then asks if they've been watching them. The coin flips out of their grasp and lands in the heads, meaning yes. FCG thanks her for being with them. FCG asks if she needs help. There's a long pause, and the hair of the figure begins to dance around them. The figure begins to lift off and pull away. FCG feels not quite fear, but something like it, and feels as if this is a yes, and the Changebringer begins to pull away. FCG sees other shapes joining the figure. FCG feels that they've been seen by the gods. FCG goes to Deanna and tells her that they saw the Changebringer, and tells her that the gods might really need their help. FCG asks Deanna if she's actually a believer of the gods, as she seems kind of distant from them and cynical about it. Deanna says she does, but she trusts in the people, so that comes first. Deanna says FCG went to the Changebringer to find something. Deanna wasn't really looking for anything. FCG says that she seems well put together, so it makes sense, but Deanna disagrees and says that the Aoritons, like Frida and FCG, are the brave ones and well put together, but they have a death wish. Fern asks if Imogen wants to try some dream walking, but the last time Imogen tried, she was nearly sucked into the pillar of ruinous magic, and that might happen again. They don't know what will happen if she goes up. They choose not to, as she's still exhausted, but she does want to look for Laudna eventually. The party rests. The Aoritons take the first watch. Frida takes watch first and rolls perception, but it was an uneventful night. Frida then switches to FCG. They take their watch, and another uneventful watch takes place. Chetney rolls a D100 again to see if he's alive come morning. He is. The party start boarding the raft. They realize the goats are taking up a lot of space, and they aren't sure how long they'll stay on the boat. The party start planning a few ways until Chetney says they don't need all of the goats. Deanna and Chetney can fit on one. Deanna kills her goat immediately hearing this. This scares the hell out of the other goats and freaks out Imogen. These goats are huge, 1,000 pounds plus each, so fitting them on the goddamn boat is not possible. Imogen says they can leave them and not kill the goats. Fern doesn't want to leave her goat behind, but it's 2-day travel by a river, and it's 4-day travel through the woods on goatback. The party liked the river timeline a lot more. Fern asks the goats that are remaining if they're okay with waiting for her here. Her goat asks what happened to Jerry. He just exploded. Will it happen to them? Fern says it won't happen if they stay in the cove. And Fern makes an animal handling check and rolls a 25. The goats then go into the cove and wait for them to come back and begin to eat the remaining pieces of Jerry, the goat who was killed by Deanna for no reason. The party get on the raft. They realize it's way better with just the 6 of them. FCG pushes the raft along with their propeller. After a bit of travel on the river, they reach the Savalirwood. They see the bramble mess and purple and gray canopy of the trees. The light of day falls in a shadow from the thick canopy that the light cannot break through. There's a thick fog on the forest floor. Frida keeps an eye out for dangers as they're floating along, letting Fern know of rocks in the river to be avoided. There's lots of vegetation throughout the woods, all purple and grays. Chetney has been through here and has seen some fucked up things. Monsters are changed and twisted. Through the day, they only hear the rushing of water. There's a strange quiet here. Imogen looks down in the water and sees a darkness, and there isn't sure if there's anything below them. Fern asks why it's like this. Chetney isn't sure. He's heard tons of things about the woods. It's better to come here in groups or teleport past it altogether. Frida asks how Chetney made it through before. He killed a werewolf, but he was bitten by one and turned into one, and then was able to successfully kill the werewolf. Frida asks if biting is what turned him into a werewolf, as Chetney bit Frida during their confrontation. Chetney doesn't remember that. The party asks if Frida will turn into a werewolf. Chetney isn't too sure. Frida is freaked out by this a little bit. Frida asks if Chetney has turned anyone else. Chetney says no, all the people who he has bitten are dead. But Fern points out how would he know? He doesn't remember biting Frida. Frida asks Imogen in their mind if they'll be alright. Imogen doesn't know, but if they don't have blood, then the blood curse really can't work on them, maybe. Frida says to make sure not to let them hurt Deanna. Imogen confronts Frida and asks if Deanna has ever killed an animal before like that. Frida says no, and it was very alarming. Frida goes over to FCG. FCG says it'll be alright. Deanna doesn't want to hurt anybody. It's been a few weeks since the last full moon, so they have a little while to worry, or to think about it. Ashley rolls for the first day. She rolls a 2. The day goes by, and when it hits night, the woods come to life, with sounds and distant cracks. Imogen asks FCG to turn the propeller off to quiet down a bit. They also have no light, so Imogen casts dancing light and pushes them into the woods to light the area around them and not directly on them. They can also see blue lights flying all around them, moving from place to place. They all hear a slapping sound and then a loud gurgle. They see some lights move about. Chetney uses his hunter's bane to sense if there's any fey creatures around, and there is indeed fey energy coming from these lights. The dancing lights show the form of the smaller lights. They're fairies or pixies. And they are avoiding being slapped by a much larger creature that seems to be annoyed by the pixies. It's slapping at itself to get the fairies away from it. The fairies turn towards the light. Deanna casts control water to push themselves along the river faster. The dancing light shows the form of the large creature. It is covered in moss, and it has elephant-like limbs. A single eye pushes through the moss canopy on its back. Imogen puts the light right into its eye, but the shape vanishes as the light reaches it. The party wait, and there's a giant splash in front of them as the creature bursts out of the water, and the raft is going straight towards it. The party roll initiative: Chetney a 22, Fern an 18, Imogen a 15, Frida a 9, Deanna a 4, and FCG a 3. The first round starts and the raft pushes closer to the creature due to the control water. Chetney is up first, and he pulls out Turmoil and ignites it, and then readies an attack. The creature is next, and it blocks the path of the raft on the river. It attacks twice, one at Frida and hits and grapples Frida. It then attacks Fern with its tendrils and hits, and then grapples her as well. It then lashes its tongue out at Frida. Frida lets it pull them into the water, and they begin to be pulled toward its mouth. Fern casts 3 Scorching Rays and hits all 3. Fern then summons Mister. Imogen is up. She casts Inflict Wounds on the creature, dealing a ton of damage. Frida is up. They shoot the creature and hit. They shoot again and hit, and they shoot again and miss. Frida is smiling during all of this. The pixies are now up. One looks over at Imogen and makes a weird sound, and then Imogen has to make a wisdom saving throw. She rolls a 12 and is polymorphed into a fox. Another one casts Polymorph on Deanna, but she resists it. Another one tries to cast Confusion on Fern, but Fern yells no, and the spell has no effect. FCG says she's already confused, so it wouldn't work anyway. Deanna is up and uses Control Water to make a 20-foot wave, push over all the pixies, making one of the pixies lose concentration on Polymorph. So Imogen is no longer a fox. Deanna casts Spiritual Weapon and hits the large creature with it. FCG is up. FCG fires a grappling hook toward the creature, and it hits. pulling in. FGG asks for Frida's plan. Frida wants to go inside its mouth and shoot it from the inside. FGG casts Shield of Help on Frida. The raft slams into the creature. Chetney attacks with his ready action as the raft moves closer. He hits twice. Chetney is then up again, hitting another time with a natural 20, and then hits again with another attack after. Chetney goes on to land. The creature then bites Frida. Frida is swallowed. It then attacks with its tendrils or tentacles. It misses Deanna, but hits Imogen. The tonic attack goes for Deanna, but she blocks it with her shield, and she's able to keep her shield from being ripped away from her hands. The creature moves back. Fern is up and casts Entangle, and it pulls the creature onto the bank of the river. Mister is up and misses his flaming seed, as he tends to do. Imogen is up and she grabs the tentacle around her and casts Inflicts Wound on it one more time. Imogen then pushes the creature with her telepathic shove, because I can't speak English, and she is pulled with it. Frida is up and is inside the creature's mouth. They use Second Wind to heal a little bit, and then they shoot, dealing good damage. The creature then vomits Frida out. Frida swims to the bank. The pixies are now up. One casts Sleep on Frida. It doesn't work as they have more than 20 hit points. One casts Phantasmal Force on Chetney, but he's too smart for it to work with a natural 20, and the third pixie turns invisible. Deanna casts Mass Cure Wounds, and then hits with Spiritual Weapon on the creature. But attacks with Spiritual Weapon on the creature, but misses. FGG is up and retracts their hook, and then shoots up into the tree and pulls themselves over the creature onto land, and then casts Spiritual Weapon, which is a slightly bigger Spiritual Weapon than Deanna's. The raft moves again. Chetney casts Shatter on the creature and the tree right next to it, making the tree land on the creature. The tree falls on it, and it almost looks like it reaches out for the creature trying to kill it, and successfully kills it. Everyone hops back onto the raft. On the way, Frida grabs some pieces of wood from the fallen tree, and Deanna throws another wave at the pixies, making them flee. Frida hands Chetney the wood, and it shifts in his hand a bit. They try to figure out how far they have to go on their journey still. Deanna stops the boat with control water, and Frida climbs some trees. Once Frida gets up there, they try to figure out if their sense of smell is different. They roll a 17, so they don't notice any difference in smell, but they also can't see with all the darkness outside because there's no source of light up there. They hop back down. Imogen puts the light in the water to reduce the light a bit, to sort of keep them hidden, but also still light their path. The fog rolls over the river now, making it hard for them to see in front of them. The party talk about if they should get off or not and rest for the night. Imogen is worried about waterfalls along the river. FGG asks if Fern can ask the fish if there's a waterfall downriver. Imogen looks for fish to see if this will even work. She does, however, see fish after a few minutes. Fern casts Speak with Animals and puts her head in the water. She yells at one of the fish swimming past. It turns and it has no eyes, and then it goes to leave, but she asks for it to come here, and she convinces it to do so with a persuasion check. She asks about waterfalls and dangers. It says there are no waterfalls, but there are definitely dangers ahead. All sorts of monsters. Fern asks for specifics. It says to keep away from the Wolf King. It doesn't know anything more than his name and that he's dangerous. Fern asks if there's a safer way, or if it's safer to go on land or stay on the raft. The fish doesn't know, as it's only ever been in water. Fern asks if the trees are dangerous. The fish doesn't know what trees are, and Fern goes back up. They feed it a little bit and then let it go. FGG says that they got some good info out of this. There's no waterfalls, and they now know of the Werewolf King. Chetney says he must have left an impression here for them to start calling him the Wolf King. FGG says he should make a crown. The party try to rest at night. FGG stays up. First, FGG can't see much because their headlights are on. The raft, during their watch, hits some white water, and the party are woken up by it as they are being pushed around a bit on the water, but no one falls off. After this, Frida takes watch. Nothing happens until Deanna wakes up and asks them if they want to be a werewolf, because they don't seem to be too bothered by it. Frida says They don't not want to be a werewolf, and Chetney seems to have fun with it. Deanna says he was scared and embarrassed when he thought he hurt Frida. Frida says being scared is part of life. They are scared for Deanna and FCG. Frida asks how Deanna prays. Deanna hasn't prayed for a while. Frida asks to pray with her. They pray, and Frida thanks the Dawn Father for bringing the party to them, and if someone is trying to hurt them, to let them know so they can help out. Frida inspects themselves to see if they feel any different. They don't know if they do or not. Frida says if something is attacking the gods, they didn't really care before until they met the party. Deanna says we've had many talks about if the gods are good or bad, but she feels that the party are doing the right thing. They go back to resting and going back on watch. Those who had exhaustion points are now good. Travis rolls a 17 for the daily roll. The fog picks back up and then rolls onto the wood floor and away from the river. It still makes it hard for them to see, too far ahead of them. They avoid the dangers of the day, and they avoid the dangers on the river. No hitting rocks or anything like that. Using his Hunter's Bane, Chetney looks for a change from Fae to see if anything else has changed throughout. Definitely as they travel, Chetney senses a difference between the Fae sense and the other twisted nature around them. They still have half a day to go. As they push into the woods, the water gets more and more cloudy. Abria rolls a 5 on their daily roll. As they travel, they see small cracks in the ground, like geysers that spray out this black mist. Chetney saw them when he traveled through here last, and he avoided them just to be safe. As Chetney goes to warn the party, a rock falls, revealing one of these geysers, and it sprays a black mist out toward the raft and hits most of the party. Con saves all around. Fern and Deanna are the only two who fail. The black spray sticks to them, and it feels like they're being pulled off the raft at first, but they grab themselves. But their organs feel like it turns to ice. They each gain an exhaustion point and are reduced, or their max HP is reduced by 5. The party is now deeply aware of these geysers. A few hours pass, and through the tree line, Frida can see something like a tall tower. They show Chetney. Chetney looks for the fork in the river but doesn't see it yet, but Chetney suggests that they get off here and look around. They pull the raft onto the bank. Imogen suggests flying over to see as it might be safer. For now, they'll walk, and if they have to, they'll fly to make as an escape plan. FCG gives out some baked goods to and I have no other way to put this, but I feel like it fits really well, the fleshy people, and it gives them temporary hit points. Deanna tries to dispel the magic from the spray on Fern, but it's less of a magical effect and more of a curse. Frida leads the party. As they lead through the woods, the trees almost block them, and they step into a soft part of the ground, and they sink into their knees. They make their way out of that. They feel like they've gotten lost, but eventually they see the tower again, and it's about 10 stories tall, and they're able to find their way to the ruins of whatever this tower is. They also see that there are other towers behind them, and they all have a lean to them. FCG remembers that they are to go to the Gilded Tower in the northwest part of the city. As they push closer, they see walls that have all been retaken by the woods, and there are breaks in the wall that they can climb over. As they look closely, the masonry is definitely elven, but they've all been deeply retaken by the woods. They see the ground has been shifted, and the black mist is coming out some of the cracks here. There are large clusters of webs. They hear a sound of wood hitting wood and scraping. Fern figures out that they are on the eastern side of the ruins. Frida thinks that if they walk through the middle of the city, it'll be like shooting fish in a barrel, but they might be able to draw whatever it is that they're hearing into the open somewhere. Imogen can summon her red Rhyoli being. Everyone hides in a tree. Imogen summons her Rhyoli. Imogen tells it to go north through the city. Imogen then tells it to make some noises. Beforehand, it's noiseless. They then hear some movement, and a massive form slams into the Rhyoli. It looks like some sort of elk with twisted antlers or horns. This kills the Rhyoli immediately when it gets slammed into it, It's about 10 feet tall, elk-shaped beast with its face being smooth, and it has 10 legs and 2 large limbs being dragged behind it that come from its shoulders. It starts to move between the buildings, and one of the limbs reaches out and grabs the ruins. It looks like a human arm, but massive. They question if they can move through the city safely, or through the ruins safely with that thing in there. Chetney looks around to see if it's the only one, but it was the only one to come to the sound, so they believe it is. FCG cast telepathic bond on everyone so they can communicate silently. They start to move stealthily with Pass Without a Trace. They roll pretty good. They can hear the creature moving in the distance. They move through the city and see that it would be a nice city with nice elven homes if it wasn't all destroyed and retaken by the woods. As they move, they swear they can see someone walking through the fog. Chetney senses undead and feels many spirits in here and informs everyone else. As they move through the ruins, they are more sure that it is very much Molaesmyr. There are no other ruins that fit the description of tragedy and size other than Molaesmyr. As they move, they see vegetation with ancient bodies within them, and they continue to move deeper into the ruins of Molaesmyr, and Matt ends the session here. So that is episode 56. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I like the Savalirwood and everything that sort of comes with the Savalirwood. I like the environment, the purple and gray and the twisted monsters and all that sort of stuff. I think it's very cool and very fun. Also, the possibility of running into one of the clays is always fun to me, so that's always in the back of my mind if they're going to run into one of the clays. I also thought the fight they had on the river was like really unique because of the fact that they like are on the river and every turn they were moving forward and down it. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I'm very intrigued to see more of this spider elk thingy in Molaesmyr. So yeah, very excited to learn more about Molaesmyr and its fall and exactly what Ludinus did to cause Molaesmyr to be like this. So yeah, that is episode 56. See ya on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.